Emma had always believed that love should be simple. Two people choosing each other every day, trusting each other, and building a future together. For 2 years, she believed she had found that kind of love with Daniel. Daniel was charming, confident, and full of big dreams. When Emma first met him at a small cafe near her office, he had made her laugh so hard that people at nearby tables had turned to look at them. From that moment, everything seemed perfect. But sometimes, the things that appear perfect hide quiet cracks beneath the surface. At first, Emma ignored the small signs. Daniel often talked about how people admired him, especially women. He said it jokingly, as if it were nothing serious. Emma laughed along because she trusted him. Then the jokes slowly became something else. One evening, while they were having dinner, Daniel casually mentioned that some of his female friends liked spending time with him and that Emma should not feel jealous. "Why should love be so strict?" he said with a careless smile. "People can care about more than one person." Emma thought he was joking, but he wasn't. Weeks later, Daniel made it clear. He told Emma that he didn't believe in limiting himself to one woman. He expected her to understand and accept it. Emma felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. "I won't share you," she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but her heart was breaking. Daniel shrugged, as if her feelings were just a small inconvenience. "Then maybe you're too traditional," he replied. That night Emma walked home alone under the city lights, replaying his words again and again. She had given 2 years of her life to someone who treated her love like it was replaceable. For days, she barely slept. Her friends told her to forget Daniel and move on, but letting go was harder than they imagined. Emma worked as an assistant in a large corporate building downtown. Her job wasn't glamorous, but she was responsible and hardworking. She arrived early every morning and left late in the evening. The company's CEO, Alexander Hayes, was someone everyone talked about but rarely saw. He was known for being intelligent, calm, and extremely private. One rainy evening, Emma was the last employee left on her floor. She was organizing files when she heard footsteps in the hallway. She looked up in surprise. Standing at the door was Alexander Hayes himself. Emma quickly stood up. "Good evening, sir." Alexander nodded politely. "You're still working?" "Yes," she said. "Just finishing a report." He noticed the tired expression on her face. "You shouldn't stay this late every day," he said. Emma forced a small smile. "Sometimes work is easier than going home." Alexander didn't ask more questions, but he seemed to understand that something was troubling her. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed more often. Sometimes in the elevator, sometimes in the lobby. Alexander always greeted her with the same quiet respect. Unlike Daniel, he never tried to impress anyone. He spoke calmly and listened carefully when people talked. One afternoon, Emma accidentally dropped a stack of documents in the hallway. Papers scattered everywhere. Before she could pick them up, someone knelt beside her. It was Alexander. Together they gathered the papers. For a moment their hands paused over the same page. "You work very hard," he said. Emma laughed softly. "Hard work is easier than thinking about personal problems." Alexander looked at her thoughtfully. "You deserve peace," he said, "not problems." Those words stayed in Emma's mind long after he walked away. Months passed. Emma slowly began rebuilding her life. She stopped answering Daniel's messages and focused on her job and her future. One evening the company hosted a formal event for employees and clients. Emma almost didn't attend, but her manager insisted. She wore a simple blue dress and tied her hair back neatly. When she entered the hall, she immediately felt out of place among the elegant guests. But then she heard a familiar voice. "You look like you belong here." She turned. Alexander Hayes was standing behind her. For the first time, Emma noticed the warmth in his eyes. They talked for a long time that evening. About work, about dreams, about life. Emma found herself telling him things she had never shared with anyone at the office. Finally, she mentioned Daniel. She told Alexander how her boyfriend expected her to accept a relationship without loyalty. "I refused," Emma said. "Maybe I lost him, but I couldn't lose my self-respect." Alexander's expression became serious. "You didn't lose anything," he said quietly. "You protected something important." Emma felt a strange comfort hearing those words. For the first time in months, she didn't feel foolish for believing in true love. After that evening, their conversations became more frequent. Sometimes Alexander invited Emma for coffee during lunch breaks. Sometimes they simply walked through the company garden, discussing ideas and goals. Emma discovered that Alexander carried his own quiet loneliness. Running a large company meant he rarely trusted people easily. But with Emma, things felt different. One weekend, Alexander invited her to visit a coastal town where the company was planning a new project. Emma hesitated at first, but something inside her told her to say yes. The ocean breeze was fresh and calming. They spent the day walking along the shoreline, discussing plans and laughing about small things. At sunset, they stood quietly watching the waves. "You know," Alexander said slowly, "I admire your strength." Emma looked at him curiously. "You walked away from someone who didn't value your heart," he continued. "Many people are afraid to do that." Emma stared at the horizon. "I was scared," she admitted, "but I knew I deserved better." Alexander smiled gently. "Yes," he said, "you do." In that peaceful moment, Emma realized something surprising. The pain Daniel had caused was no longer controlling her life. She felt lighter, stronger. Over the following months, Emma and Alexander built a friendship based on trust and respect. He supported her career growth, encouraging her ideas during meetings. She helped him see the company from a fresh perspective. Their connection grew slowly, naturally. One evening, as they walked through the quiet city streets, Alexander stopped. "Emma," he said. She turned toward him. "I want you to know something." His voice was steady but sincere. "You deserve someone who chooses you completely, someone who doesn't see love as a game." Emma felt her heart beat faster. Alexander continued, "If you ever allow someone into your life again, I hope it's someone who values your loyalty the way it should be valued." Emma smiled softly. "And what if that person is standing right here?" she asked gently. For a moment, the city noise faded into the background. Alexander's eyes widened slightly, then softened. "I was hoping you might say that someday," he replied. Emma laughed quietly, feeling happier than she had in years. Her decision to refuse Daniel's unfair expectations had once felt like a painful loss. But now she understood something important. Sometimes saying no to the wrong person is the first step toward meeting the right one. Standing beneath the city lights, Emma realized that love built on respect and honesty was worth waiting for. And this time, she knew she had found it.